right-footed copy. Oh! Bang! That one goes down. Champions! He takes that chance. Aguero!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Sports Fans Network. I am the CHALL back with another video here. It's your first of the double header on your Sunday on SFN. Hull City 0, Sunderland 1 in the Championship. We have controversy, we have moments of quality, we have moments of not so quality, and also what does this mean for both teams heading into their next 5 games. Now before we get started, make sure you do like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell so you never miss another edition of The Final Whistle and all the other shows we've got coming up on the SFN, Sports Fans Network. And for now, ladies and gentlemen, sports fans around the world, let's get started with this new edition of The Final Whistle, starting off with your official starting lineups. The hosts, managed by Tim Walter, made 4 changes from the 4-0 defeat to Norwich City, with Sean McLaughlin, Oscar Zambrano, Regan Slater and Liam Millard dropping to the bench. There was also a home debut for centre-back Charlie Hughes after returning from appendix surgery. Gustavo Puerta making his full debut for the Tigers on loan from defending Bundesliga champions Bayern Leverkusen also appeared in the starting lineup. For Sunderland, it is the same starting lineup which drew 2-2 to Leeds United at the Stadium of Light 2 weeks ago. Aaron Connolly, an ex-Hull City player, was among the substitutes, while midfielder Chris Riggs started and is one of 9 Sunderland players to have taken part in every league game so far. So let's start off then with your match review, and this is a tough one really, because first of all, well done to Sunderland. They won the game, they got the victory, they got the 3 points. Was it the best performance by Sunderland? No, I don't think it was. Were they the better team today? Yes, I do think that. Why were they the better team? Well, going into this game, looking at Hull's previous results, looking at what they were doing wrong, look at what they were doing right, for me, the best that Hull produces is quick counter-attacks. They're quick counters with the pace on the flanks, and going at the opposition with the quick counter is what they're best under Tim Walter. That's their best kind of method of or weapon of attack. Sunderland have a high press, they have an aggressive press, they're all over the pitch, they've got the quality, they're fluent, they're slick, they're structured, they're so confident on the ball. How Hull was going to get a result out of today was those counter-attacks and how clinical they were at the end of those counter-attacks, because you've got to take as many chances as you can get. Hull, for me, lacked in clinicalness. They had a real hesitation to shoot, and it wasn't just in distant areas. There was a couple of little pot shots here and there from distance which went wide, a couple of little warning fires from the likes of Bellumi at the start of the second half, and a couple of other ones as well. For me, it was the close ones. It was the ones where you had the extra touch, or you took the extra touch, or went the extra distance, and the avenues blocked off, and Sunderland counter, or Sunderland get it away from danger. Hull had real hesitation in the final third. And for me, it felt like Hull City had a real kind of lack of confidence in attacking areas. And part of it was due to the Sunderland pressure. There was a moment where Chris Mepham was overloaded by, a Hull player or two, and he was under some real pressure at the back. And Sunderland, didn't need to make that mistake. Sunderland, for me, overall defensively so far this year, have looked pretty good. But they had their moments today where they looked shaky, they looked under pressure, and Hull couldn't capitalise on that. Now, from a Sunderland perspective, yes, it weren't their best performance, but they still delivered something brilliant. And like I said, they were confident, they were slick, they were structured, they were fluent, they were all over the pitch, they were aggressive in the press. They tried to win the ball back as quick as they possibly could. It was one of Chris Riggs' quieter games today, but he was still getting involved, still had a shot off in the side netting in the second half, and was still a threat in some regard. Now then, the goal. The goal. So, on initial glance, it seemed like a little kind of, not shove out of the way, but a little dink out of the way involving the Hull player and the referee, Bobby Madley. Now, Bobby Madley's come under a hell of a lot of criticism. Some of it most to be expected, some of it warranted. Was there enough contact to be able to stop that counter-attack a second more? I don't think so. Did it touch Bobby Madley in either way? Did the ball touch Bobby Madley in either way? No. Did he get involved in the play? No. Was it a slight touch off a player that was going to counter on a potential run, which eventually happened? You could say and consider it. But for me, did Bobby Madley do enough to be involved in that play to stop the game and reset the ball? No. The one later on, yes, because at the end of the day, he got involved in the play. Maybe he was in the wrong area positionally. And you could have said the same there, even though it didn't touch him, even though the ball didn't come off of him. Maybe he was in the wrong area in terms of his positioning. But that's by the by. Let's focus now on the actual goal itself. Wonderful run. From a defensive point of view from Hull, it's similar to Norwich City. So open at the back. Drame's the deepest defender. And it's a brilliant long run from Wilson Isidore. And what a chip. A cheeky little chip from Wilson Isidore. And Sunderland get the win. And it was going to come down to that one chance that goes in the back of the net. It was not going to be a game of clinicalness for me. It was going to be a game where Sunderland dominated the ball in terms of the possession game. Sunderland were going to counter-press Hull's counters and Hull's possessional play. And it was going to come down to how clinical either side will be, either Hull on the counter or Sunderland off the counter-press. And Sunderland were the more clinical side today. Can't have any complaints. Hull should have done better defensively. And they'll look back on this one with a lot of regret, I think. So let's pick out the key players of the game for Hull City. From a positive sense, I've gone with Lewis Coyle. For me, obviously the stats tell the difference. He won the most duels in the match with 14 duels won. 67% successful dribbles, albeit by a short number of dribbles overall in that game. 57% accurate long balls. 50% of his tackles won, at least half of his tackles won in percentages. 71% ground duels won. For me, he was one of the better defenders on the field for me. Out wide, he had a lot of pace, a lot of aggression. He came forward with a lot of drive, a lot of energy, a lot of purpose. But again, just like the majority of the defensive line, too far forward for the Sunderland goal. Drame was the deepest defender, and he was the only one tracking Isidore. And there was a couple that could have, been a bit deeper. There was a couple of the defenders that could have sat a bit deeper. I think Hull were just going for it a bit too much and forgot about the defensive nature. Sunderland were to counter off the shoulder, which Isidore did with that wonderful run and chip goal to make it 1-0, which won the game. But overall, for me, Lewis Coyle was all right today. He wasn't great, but he was all right today. And I think individually, he can be proud of himself in some of the things that he did right in that game. Like I said, he had drive, he had purpose, he had aggression on the run, down the flank, down the channel. Won the most duels in the game statistically. So again, he can be proud of that. And I thought Lewis Coyle was all right today. He had his moments of criticism, which we can point out. There was his positional sense at times could have been questioned, but overall for me, I thought he was okay. But he can be proud of some of the things he's done today, and he was one of the bright sparks defensively for Hull. And to be fair, Hull's defensive structure was much better than the Norwich game, albeit that goal that Sunderland scored. That was the only real exception for me, apart from a few of the chances which didn't end up coming off. But Coyle was okay today. In some regard, he was okay. Now, Sunderland fans may expect me to pick someone like Isidore or Mundell or anyone like that. I'm going with Dan Neil, and there's reasons behind this one. 94% pass accuracy, 80% long ball accuracy, won both of his tackles in that game, 67% ground duels won his only aerial duel, created a big chance, intercepted and recovered the ball 3 times respectively for each department, intercepted it 3 times, recovered it 3 times. He was brilliant today. And he got an assist, I believe, as well. He was brilliant. He was brilliant today. And Dan Neil is a really good presence in that midfield. He offers a lot in terms of link-up play, the possession game. He fits the possession system, the in-possession system of Regis Lebris, the Sunderland manager, quite well. Obviously, if Sunderland are to be in the Premier League next season, they're going to, long term, they will look for a long-term replacement in that position for Dan Neil as Dan Neil gets older and if Sunderland stay in the Premier League longer. But I think Dan Neil for Championship and I would say mid-Premier League at the very least, I'd say Dan Neil's a good option in that midfield. I think that he did well today. And, he, for me, impressed me a lot in terms of, like I said, his link-up play, his possession game, his ability to drive forward a couple of times as well, getting involved in chances, obviously provided the assist. And, for me personally, he was a good midfield option for Sunderland today. He was a great midfield option. And for me, deserves a lot of credit for his performance today. I felt he stood out in terms of his whole midfield presence, and he's someone that Sunderland will be lucky to have. He's a link in the chain. Yes, he might not be this outstanding name that's going to wow the world and cause FIFA Street frenzy fanatics to lose their heads, but like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, but for me, Dan Neil is just the man who does his job to the best of his ability and is the right cog in the machine to make things tick. And that's what I like about Dan Neil. I think he did well today. So then, what is next for Hull City in terms of their upcoming fixtures? Well, on the 23rd of October, they host Burnley in midweek. They then go away the following weekend against Derby County on the 26th of October. Then on the 2nd of November, they host Portsmouth before going away to Oxford United on the 5th of November. Then for their final of the 5 games coming up on the 10th of November, they host promotion contenders West Bromwich Albion. Hull City will want to try and get some form back in these games. So what about Sunderland? They go away to Luton Town on the 23rd of October before hosting Oxford United on the 26th of October. They then go away to Queen's Park Rangers on the 2nd of November before an away trip to Preston North End on the 6th of November. Finally then, at home at the Stadium of Light on the 9th of November, they host struggling Coventry City. Sunderland will take some great form of this now and they're back at the top of the Championship and will want to stay there for as long as they possibly can. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. That is another edition of the Final Whistle at full time. Make sure you do like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you share me your thoughts about all this. In summary, Sunderland got the win. They were more clinical. Hull needs to look at themselves defensively. And Bobby Madley didn't play that much of a part in the goal as people originally thought. But for me, Sunderland were the better team overall. They came out better in the second half regardless, even before that goal. Hull tried to throw some pressure in numerous counter-attacks later on, but it just didn't end up happening. And the game was starting to wind down with 10 minutes to go, and Hull just couldn't wind it back up, and the game kind of slipped away from him in the end. So Sunderland, for me, are the deserved winners, and anyone who wants to share their thoughts, put it in the comments down below. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I am the CHALL. Thank you very much for watching the Sports Fan Network. Ta-ra for now. That's full time.
Right foot to copy.